Think of a doorstop. It's a wedge. It prevents the door from closing. In Jiu-Jitsu, think of a door being fully open as your opponent laying flat with their arms and legs fully extended, and the door being closed as your opponent being in a ball, creating a barrier using their short frames with their knees to their elbows. But a barrier to what? Their inside position. The more you can open the door and keep it open using your wedges, the weaker the position your opponent will be in. And the more inside position that you can take, meaning the more you can advance position. Let's do a deep dive into wedges, but first, quick word from the sponsor of today's video, Element. Do you often suffer from muscle cramps during your jiu-jitsu training? It used to happen to me as well, and it was incredibly frustrating. One of the reasons that these muscle cramps happen is because we lose electrolytes through sweat, especially sodium. And when these electrolytes aren't adequately replaced, that's when the muscles cramp up. And that's exactly why I started drinking Element. It's the tastiest electrolyte drink mix ever. It contains 1,000 milligrams of sodium, 200 milligrams of potassium, and 60 milligrams of magnesium, and 0 sugar. This formula is based off scientific evidence gathered from coaching tens of thousands of clients, with the goal of healthful hydration being an easy box to check on your path of health and wellness. Furthermore, research has shown that consuming enough electrolytes can significantly reduce the risk of heart disease and significantly improve cardiovascular health. If you want to both train and live better, then Element is the right choice for you. And right now, Element is offering my viewers a free sample pack with any order. That's 8 single serving packets free with any Element order. This is a great way to try all 8 flavors or share Element with a salty friend. Get yours at drinkelement.com/JordanTeaches. This deal is only available through my link. You must go to drinkelement.com/JordanTeaches. Okay, let's get started. Door open, door closed. It's difficult to generate any meaningful strength with your limbs fully extended compared to having your knees closer to your chest. And you lack the ability to use your frames to defend. For example, going knee to elbow positions your frames in the way of your opponent and blocks their insertion of a wedge. This would be the door fully closed. But when you're inside the door, they can't frame because you're already past their frames with your wedge, and you can take more inside position as you keep the door open and insert more wedges, such as your legs and mount. If your opponent brings their knees back in front of you in mount, then they've closed the door. They're back in their guard. Your knee during a knee slide is a great example. You pry the door open using your knee as a wedge and keep the door from closing by using that same wedge. If your opponent can reinsert their knee between you and them and re-guard, then you weren't using your wedge effectively, which is why when your opponent starts to close the door and you can't do anything about it, then you need to transition by switching to a different wedge so you can stay in front of their knees and keep the door open. Watch how in all these clips I'm using a wedge to keep the door open, which allows me to get inside the door, inside position. I'm not thinking of, oh, I should use this technique or that technique. I'm simply using my understanding of how the body works and inserting wedges, using different parts of my body to keep the door open. These clips showed opening the door in regards to the lower body, but now let's look at the upper body. A great example of a wedge would be an underhook from mount. To set up an arm triangle, you position the wedge higher and higher as you crawl your fingers up until the door is fully open. And now you can attack the arm triangle or a variety of different submissions. Using an underhook as a wedge prevents your opponent's upper body from turning inwards towards their knees, which is important as you need to prevent the door from closing, as that will hinder your offense. And if you don't use wedges when you need to, it can open up offense for your opponent. For example, on the right, my opponent doesn't have an underhook. Nothing to stop me from positioning myself into a ball by turning inwards. An underhook used as a wedge, like the clip on the left, would have shut down my leg entanglement. Here I lose my wedge, which was preventing my opponent's inward rotation, so I bail on position to stay safe. Your head, hands, forearms, feet, shins, hips, and more can all be used as wedges. Wedges are extremely important as you need to prevent the door from closing, which is why as you transition, you need to replace one wedge with another as you progress to maintain control the whole time, keeping the door from closing as you open it more and more. If you don't replace your wedge as you transition or you simply lose the wedge, you risk your opponent advancing position on you, which can force you to need to bail on position or transition to put another wedge in place. This can lead to a scramble, and you don't want to scramble because it means that you lack control. Let's summarize as well as go over how to use your understanding of wedges to your advantage and apply it on the mats. 1. Use wedges to get inside the door and keep it open so you can take more inside position. 2. Transition when needed to stay inside the door. 3. Reverse engineer this video for defense and use the concept of door open and door closed to better understand inside position. For example, in Turtle, keep the door closed and don't let your opponent inside, or bad things will happen. Make sure to pick up my Jiu-Jitsu theory course to learn even more about essential Jiu-Jitsu concepts. Alright, thank you for sticking around till the end of the video. If you're still here, please leave a comment or a fist bump, and I'll see you guys next time.